Good morning, students. Today we will be learning about homeostasis, unit 14.1 and 14.2. All the changes in our environment are the changes occurs internally, are corrected by, are become in balance due to a process. That process is known as homeostasis. If there is any change occurs in the internal or external environment, our body reacts against that change. To make the possible changes or to make the changes which occurs inside the body. To correct that mechanism, there are specialized organs inside the body which make those corrections or which makes the disturbed system or the disturbed environment in a proper manner. So the stimulus, as we discussed earlier, in the nervous system, we receive a stimulus which is a change in the internal or external environment. So our body receives that stimulus, which is received by some specific specialized cells or tissues or organs which are known as the receptors. They carry those changes in the form of impulses to the central nervous system, and central nervous system then commands the effectors. The effectors may be in the form of muscles or in the form of a gland. So to correct that imbalance system. So it's all about homeostasis in the body. If we do not perform these homeostatic activities, we will die. What do you all think that what are they all doing? They are all trying to maintain their normal body conditions. Like some of them, they are dehydrated, so they are drinking water and juices to make the concentration of salts, minerals and water in a balance. Some of them are cooling themselves down due to hot temperature, and some of them are warming themselves due to cool temperature. So they are all maintaining their body temperature or their body conditions in a normal way or in an equilibrium. So after that, we will be able to define homeostasis, that the process by which living organisms maintain their internal body environment at a constant level or in an equilibrium is called as homeostasis. In homeostatic conditions, we have one of them is thermoregulation, or the regulation of heat or temperature in the body. So the maintenance of normal body temperature, which is 37 degrees centigrade, is called as thermoregulation. If the temperature of the body drops from 37 degrees centigrade or it rises above 37 degrees centigrade, there is a mechanism in the body which make it correct and lower it down if it rises above 37 degrees centigrade, or make it higher, or make the cells to produce more and more heat to keep the temperature in a balance of 37 degrees centigrade again. So to create that balance in the body of heat and temperature, that process is known as thermoregulation. According to thermoregulation or heat maintenance, organisms are divided into two categories. One is ectothermic and the other one is endothermic. Ectothermic organisms are those organisms which are not able to maintain their body heat or body temperature according to their external environment. So their internal body temperature fluctuates with changes in the environmental temperature. If, for example, the environmental temperature is 0, then the temperature of their bodies will also be 0. If the temperature of the environment is above 20 or 20, then their body temperature will also be 20 or above 20. So it depends upon the temperature of the environment. These organisms will have the same environmental temperature inside their body. So they are not able to maintain their body temperature according to the external environment. They are called as ectothermic organisms or cold-blooded organisms. The next category is endothermic organisms are warm-blooded animals or organisms. Mammals and birds are included in this category, and these organisms are able to maintain their body temperature according to their external environment. Like if, for example, there is fluctuation occurs in the external environment, no matter what, their body temperature will remain the same in all conditions. Like for example, in mammals or in humans, the body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade. So it will remain 37 whether the temperature of the environment is 0 or 50. Whatever is the temperature of the environment, it doesn't matter. They will maintain their body temperature according to the external environment. So the constant body temperature 37 remains the same in every condition. So such type of organisms are called as endothermic organisms, which can keep their body temperature constant at every level of temperature, regardless of the changes in the environmental temperature. The skin. We will study about the structure of skin and how it helps in the thermoregulation. So first of all, the function and structure of the skin is like it is the largest organ of the body. It covers all internal structures of the body. It surrounds the whole body. So that is why it is called as the largest organ of the body. Our skin cells lying compact to each other. They lie very close to each other so that there is no gap in between them, in between the cells of our skin. And it helps, this compactness of the skin helps us to protect us against microorganisms and other elements. It also helps regulate body temperature by formation of the sweat or perspiration, because it contains sweat glands. And it also helps us in sensations of touch, heat and cold, different types of pain, different types of sensations, because it contains nerve cells. Skin layers. Skin is divided mainly into 3 layers. The uppermost layer is the epidermis, the in-between layer is the dermis, and the innermost layer is the hypodermis. The epidermis. Epidermis is a waterproof barrier and it creates our skin tone. Like it is the outermost layer of the skin which creates the skin tone, and also it is waterproof. This is made up of keratinocyte cells. These cells are dead cells. They contain a protein which is called as keratin, and keratin proteins, it's also present in different structures, like it forms other different structures of the body, but mostly it is found in the skin cells, the uppermost layer. And these cells become dead because of the deposition of keratin proteins, because they lost their nucleus and they form the outermost layer of the dermis, epidermis. Epidermis also contains melanocyte cells, but in the deeper layer. They are not in the uppermost layer of the epidermis. So these melanocyte cells, they produces melanin. It is also a protein which helps us to protect from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. So it depends upon the skin color depends upon the concentration of melanin. If the melanin concentration is high, then the color of the skin will be darker, and if it is low, the color of the skin will be fair or white. The size of the epidermis varies from surface to surface. Like for example, in your eyelids, it is the thinnest layer, and in your in the soles or in heels of your sole, it is the thickest layer. So the thickest epidermis found in your heels, and the thinnest epidermis found in your eyelid. Skin casting or shedding. The epidermis layer is continuously shed off or replaced by new cells. New cells are formed in the lower layers which moves upwardly, and as they move upwardly, they become more concentrated with keratin proteins, and due to the concentration of keratin protein, if it rises, they then loses their nucleus, and if they lost their nucleus, they then are called as dead cells. So these keratinocyte cells, as they move upward, they become dead, and the uppermost layer of the cells, it is continuously changed or replaced by new cells. So these new cells which are formed, they move upward and they become dead, and finally they become shut off. Melanin. As I told you that melanin are produced by the melanocyte cells. It is a protein which protects us from ultraviolet rays. Its concentration differ from person to person, and the color of the skin depends upon the concentration of melanin. Hair follicles. The epidermis is folded inward, as you can see in this diagram. This epidermal cell, the upper layer, it is folded inward, which forms hair follicles. And hair follicles are places or spaces from where hair grows. Like from these follicle, hair grows from them and comes out to the outer environment and above the surface of epidermis. They also contains minute pores, as you can see, and these pores led to the sweat glands, and blood vessels are surrounded in the from the sweat glands. Though the sweat glands are found in the dermis part of the epidermis of the skin, but it extends into the dermis part, epidermis, and through these pores sweat comes out. Like water molecules along with salts and minerals, they comes out to remove heat from the body. The second layer is called as the dermis. Dermis is the living part or living layer of the skin. It contains tough connective tissues, nerve endings, blood vessels, and sweat glands. These all structures are found here in the dermis part of the skin. Connective tissues. Like our skin is mostly formed of elastic fibers and collagen fibers. Collagen is a form of or a type of protein which is found there in the skin. It gives the skin tightness or tone of the skin is maintained by these fibers, elastic fibers and collagen fibers. So there is a process which is called as aging in humans. So due to that process, aging process, the cells become loose and they lost their functionality. So the function of these elastic fibers, it is normal and fixed in young people, but as we grow and as we grow older, these fibers they become loose and they lost their elasticity. So when they lost their elasticity, the skin become loose and it formed the wrinkle shaped. In the diagram you can see the skin of the young people and the skin of the aged people. As I told you that dermis is a living part or living area of the skin. So if it is living, then it requires all the needs and requirements which every cells have. So those needs are fulfilled by the blood vessels, and there is a huge network of blood vessels in the dermis part of the skin. These blood vessels, they provide or they transport nutrients to the cells of the dermis. We have sensations or sensory endings in the dermis part of the skin. So the different types of nerve endings which are present in the dermis part of the skin are for the touch, pain, pressure and temperature. All of them are present there in the skin, and we can feel all these sensations through our skin. Sweat glands are also present in the dermis part of the skin. It is a gland which is found, and blood vessels surround this gland, or this gland surrounds the blood vessels, which then proliferate or make the blood vessels dilate, and it extract water along with salts and minerals from the blood vessels and then remove it through the sweat pores. So it carry these sweat pores are connected to these sweat glands which surrounds the blood vessel in your dermis part, and it makes those extra water, salts and minerals along with the heat. So the major function of these sweat glands to remove the heat from the body, and they remove the heat from the body in the form of water and in the form of sweat. The lowest part of the deeper part of the skin is called as the hypodermis. So beneath the dermis there is an extra layer which is called as hypodermis, which is mostly consist of fat tissues called as the adipose tissues. These adipose tissues are responsible for the storage of fats, and the major function of the hypodermis is to insulate the body. This layer varies from person to person depending upon the health of a person, because the skinny people they have a thin hypodermis, and the fat or obese people they have thick hypodermis. Thank you.